Let's talk about Reviving Kathmandu, an upcoming bidding and set collection game about building monuments. Welcome to Brains on Games. I'm Dr. Brian McDonald. In this episode, we're going to talk about an upcoming game that involves bidding and set collection where you're building monuments in Kathmandu. This is a game that just delivered on Kickstarter not too long ago. It is available for pre-order on the Lemery Games website. And appropriately enough, we're talking about building, and I think there's construction going on in my neighborhood, so you might be able to hear construction noise from outside. But Reviving Kathmandu, here's the box. It looks like a suitcase. This is a game for between 1 and 6 players. It still plays quick, even with 6 players. You can play this one with kids aged 8 and up, and games take anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes. Let's take a deeper look at Reviving Kathmandu by Lemery Games. Reviving Kathmandu is a light bidding and set collection game. When this game was up on Kickstarter, actually, it was a fundraiser to rebuild a primary school that was destroyed in an earthquake in the valley of Kathmandu. So there was a charitable component to it. And I mean, this game looks great. You've got a neoprene mat. You've got these linen finished cards. You've got your bidding coins are these wooden heat transfer coins that are numbered. You've got a metal first player token that fits right on the dual layer player boards. You're going to win this game by having the most victory points at the end of, really, it's 2 rounds of bidding. You've got 5 coins. Midway through the game, you're going to get all of those coins back, and then you start the next round. And beginning with the first player, what you're doing here is you're choosing one of your numbered coins and you're placing it on these circles on the mat. Each of these spots is going to allow you to bid on 2 different cards. So white is bidding on the cards in this row. You might bid on cards in a column. These 2 spots at the top are only used at larger play counts. And so if you place your coins here or here, you're going to be bidding on these pairs of cards. Or of course, you can place them and bid on the row. Once all the players have placed their coins, then everyone's going to flip them over and you're going to see who's going to win which card. You're deciding here based on the highest bid or the only bid, and then if there are ties, ties are settled by how close the coin is to the card. So if the green player had also bid 4 on this row, the green player is going to win this card, the white player will win this one over here. Because this is a 1, they're not going to win either of these cards. If both the white and purple player had played 4s, now you've got a tie, but the card that's closest to the longest side is going to win in the case of a tie like that. Now you're always collecting 2 cards per turn, no matter what happens with your bid. So if you don't win 2, you're going to be drawing 1 or 2 cards from this red deck. So you're always going to have some cards in your hand that you can play. Once everyone's collected their 2 cards, you place the coins back on the mat, so it's super easy for all the players to figure out which coins each other player has left for the next bidding round, and then you can start to build. Each of the cards, you may have noticed, I'll put it up by the little camera here, each of the cards is 2-sided, so you can use the top or the bottom part of the card, and the icons make it very clear where these pieces are supposed to go. So this is the base of a building that's going to be 2 cards high. So if you happen to manage to get the top of a building like this, now you can put those 2 together. You're going to earn the number of points that's at the top of the roof of your building. And at the end of the game, incomplete buildings, you'll earn the points on whatever card is topmost on that stack. For the larger buildings, their bases have negative points. So you lose points if you don't start building on those larger towers. So you're going to have a card like this poking out of the top of your player mat, and that's going to give you 3 points. You also get bonus points based on matching colors. So if both of these colors had matched, I'm going to get some extra points there, and that does get harder with the larger buildings. So a building like this that has a red base and a blue roof is only going to earn me 3 points, but if I'm the white player, I'm going to get an extra 2 points at the end of the game because that's my mission, to build a monument like this that has a blue base or a red base. Players then will count up whatever victory points they've earned from the buildings that they've constructed. So only the completed buildings are going to score points during the game, and then the incomplete buildings will score at the end. And then the first player token moves to the next player and you do the next set of bids. Sometimes you're going to have some cards that were not won, that nobody bid on from the tableau here. Those are going to go into a discard pile. At the end of your turn, if you don't use your cards, if you don't build with them, you have a maximum hand size of 3, so you'll have to discard some cards as well if you've got 4 cards still in your hand because you didn't have any bases that you could play in order to build some buildings, or maybe you wanted to save some of your other cards so that you could complete your missions. So there's going to be a discard pile here at the end. Once you've spent 4 of these coins and each player only has 1 left, then you have a choice. You can either use the value of this coin and earn that many victory points, or you could trade in your coin and grab one of the cards from the discard pile. And you can use either the top or bottom, and then you get to build with that card. You're going to collect then all of your coins from your board. Now you've got all 5 again. You do the same thing until every player only has 1 coin left. Again, they can choose to buy a card from the discard pile or to buy those victory points, and then the player with the most points is going to be the winner of the game. There are lots of variations to the rules on this game. You can play in teams of 2 or 3 and then help your teammate to build on their buildings. You can do open bids where you place your coins face up instead of face down. You could do that, close bids in the first round and open in the second, or vice versa. So there are some variations in the rules. There's an expansion that I picked up with this one called Senior Architects. This box has more complex missions, more difficult missions for you to complete, but they also give each player an identity, and the players have asymmetric abilities. So you might be able to have a maximum hand size of 4, for example, or your final bid in a round might be worth +1. What skills, though, are you working on when you play a game like Reviving Kathmandu? Well, this is one where you do have to prioritize and budget these coins. You might be trying to save your 5 value coin for victory points at the end of the round, or you might want to save it until you find a card that you really need in order to complete your mission. And then if you've got that high value coin left, you can be more likely to win that card that you want. This one, for example, was a wild color, so you'd be able to win a card that could count as any color, which could allow you to complete one of your missions. So you've got that budgeting and prioritizing. You're planning how are you going to construct the buildings that you want to complete those missions. And when you're budgeting and planning and prioritizing and trying to be efficient in the way you manage your turns, those, of course, are examples of executive functioning skills, the skills and behaviors that you need to work towards a goal. And those skills are activated in any strategy game, really, where you have to think ahead and plan ahead. This is a great one for the younger kids because it's very straightforward and the rules aren't too complex. You're also invoking a little bit of those visual spatial skills. So your ability to kind of visualize what's on the board and understand how these different spaces, these bid spaces, are going to work together. Are you going to win a bid if somebody else places their coin here? You need to think about the layout of the cards a little bit. So it's not, a super complicated spatial game. And in terms of building your buildings, as I said earlier, the icons are very clear and convenient to show you that, this is a base of a building that's going to be 4 cards high if you build the whole thing. So they do make it very clear, but there is a bit of spatial ability that's involved when you're placing those coins to make your bids. Working memory is the whiteboard in your mind where you keep information so that you can manipulate it or work with it somehow. And you are doing the math when it comes to calculating the points that you're going to earn, but you're also evaluating how you're going to choose your bids, which coins you're going to place based on the coins that other players have left. For example, you are looking at, especially in a 6-player game, you're looking at all of their other coins and what options are they going to have, what's the lowest bid that I can make and still win the card that I want, or do I want to play a 5 and be sure to win that one wild card so that I can complete my mission. So you're managing your hand and you're calculating those points and keeping in mind which options are available to the other player. And so that's a little bit of information to manipulate. So you are exercising the working memory skills too. Final thoughts about reviving Kathmandu. Well, this is a game that has, well, first of all, great components. I mean, you've got the dual layer player board, you've got these colorful cards, you've got the metal first player token, you've got the gorgeous coins, you've got the neoprene mat that's stitched on the edge. We're talking about some great components here. The box has a magnetic closure, and there's a separate layer for the player boards with the little tab underneath to make it easy to pull them out. So everything about this game, I think, is well thought out. And the box looks like a little suitcase, and that's kind of fun too. Plus, on the Kickstarter campaign, you were raising funds to rebuild a school, which I think is a great thing. The bidding system here is unique because you're always bidding on those two cards, and you're always going to get two cards no matter what else happens. And you might be getting a card at random if there are none that you really like here, and saving your high value coins for later. But I do like the way that the bidding system is laid out on this mat, and how you're playing those coins. Um, it's one that's easy to learn and explain. I love games that have some strategy, but you can teach them easily, because then you can get playing right away. And it didn't take long for everybody to kind of grasp what was happening on the board here in reviving Kathmandu. So there's some strategy, but it's easy to teach and easy to learn. It is quick to play. I do think that expansion where you get the asymmetric powers and the more difficult goals does add some replayability here, so that you're not sort of constantly doing the same thing. And I could be watching my kids who always are going to bid on these wild cards and be able to predict what they'll do. Well, it's going to be less predictable when you have asymmetric powers and there's those extra options. So I think there's some replayability there as well. This is a great example of a very straightforward bidding and set collection game. Now, are there downsides? Maybe the downside is that it is so straightforward. There's not, like I talked about Lunar Rush a little while ago, and I think that's one of the games that I've really enjoyed playing this year. And that's one that has that bidding mechanism, but you've also got resource management, you've got worker placement and engine building all combined together into one game. Here, it's very streamlined, which does make it easier to teach and learn, which does make it more straightforward for the younger kids to understand. But it is a straightforward set collection bidding game. You're building those stacks of cards, and you're earning those cards by bidding on them. So for some folks, that might be a bit too simplistic. I think that this is a perfect introduction to this style of game. And for players who are less familiar with more advanced strategy games, for younger players as well, you've got a game here that is very easy to access, but still strategic. So with the great art and great components, with the streamlined, straightforward gameplay, I think this is a winner if you're a player who likes those kinds of bidding games. I will, like I said, put some information about how to pre-order Reviving Kathmandu in the show notes of this video. But if you have any questions or comments, you can, of course, leave them in the comment section below, or you can email me at brian@brainsongames.ca. Brainsongames.ca is the website. That's where future episodes will go, and the previous ones are up there already. Brains on Games is the Twitter handle and the Facebook page and the Instagram feed, so we're all over the place. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to be notified of future ones, you can head on over to YouTube and click that subscribe button. Thanks for joining me, and hopefully I'll see you next time.